Thank you, Shelley and Tad. It's beautiful. Welcome and bienvenidos to the Boulder Valley Unitarian Universalist Fellowship. It's wonderful to see you here on this beautiful, maybe clear day. I'm Mary Gibb. My pronouns are she and her. I'm joined today by our interim minister, Reverend Barbara Kleeman. Today's music is provided by Tag Coriath, piano, Shelley Armour, viola, and song leader Jen Weiler. Today's tech team is Herb Axe, Paula Zimmerman, and Charlie Morris. As I say the welcome words today, I invite those of you on Zoom to shift into gallery mode if you haven't already done so, and scroll through the screens so you can experience the beauty of this congregation. You are all welcome here today in all the beauty of languages, cultures, skin tones, shapes, and sizes, gifts and challenges that come together in your uniqueness. You are all welcome here today. In all the ways you experience and express gender, you are welcome. In the beauty that is who you love and how you love, you are welcome here. Whether you are carrying grief or joy in your heart, or doing the hard work of carrying both at the same time, you are welcome here. With all of the traditions your spiritual life may encompass, you are welcome here. You are invited to join us with a curious mind, a loving heart, and a willing spirit. We welcome all of you today. If you're new here, we are glad you found us and hope that in this community, whether you're with us in person or virtually, you can experience the warmth and love of this congregation. We have many opportunities during the week for social connection and spiritual growth. And those on Zoom can check out the links in the chat to help you get connected. And those in person can stop by the welcome table in the foyer for fellowship information and to fill out our newcomer form. If you would like to view a simple order of service for today's service on your phone, please scan the QR code on our screens now or click the link in the Zoom chat. There's the QR code. Our book for sharing joys and concerns is inside the doors to the sanctuary. Please write a brief personal note about what's on your heart today. You may mark whether you would like us to read it aloud later in the service. You can share anonymously by not writing down your name, but if you would like to be contacted by a lay pastoral care associate or neighborhood connector, please complete the form fully with your contact information. Our Sunday support person this morning is Pat Bulltop. Can you stand, Pat? Right there, in the white stole. And if you need to talk about something personal or close to your heart, please see Pat after the service. Everyone on Zoom is welcome to stay on Zoom for casual conversation in a small group following the service. If you're here in person, you're welcome in the fellowship hall for coffee, snacks, and conversation. Okay, this is the fun part. If you're joining us on Zoom, please feel free to greet each other now in the Zoom chat. If you're a newcomer, please feel free to introduce yourself in the chat. And those of you in the sanctuary, please take a moment to greet your neighbor.
Good morning to everyone. Good morning. Good morning. I'm Reverend Barbara, the service leader for this service. My pronouns are she and her. In the Unitarian Universalist tradition, as a symbol of our faith, we light our chalice. As Mary lights the flame, I invite us to repeat the words for the chalice lighting. We light this chalice for the warmth of love, the light of truth. My friends, let us come together with this call to worship. To be a Unitarian Universalist means that we'll never be done with the work of telling the truth about oppression, the work of resisting any laws, policies, or practices that deny anyone their humanity, the work of stubbornly seeking out the spark of the divine, each of us, no matter what the work of creating heaven on earth carries in us. To be a Unitarian Universalist also means we're not alone in the work. We are not alone because of our promises to love one another. We are not alone because we are companions on the journey as we grow ourselves into allies, helping one another to get free, because truly, none of us is truly free until we are all free. Come, my friends, let us be together this morning in community and be glad. And as we come together in community, we sing together. Our opening hymn is in the teal hymnal, if you wish to follow. It's number 1023. The words will be on the screen, and I believe Tad is going to tell us how we're going to sing it.
Yeah, I will do that. We will sing it so it's a round, and why don't we sing it all through together as the whole room all singing the same thing a couple of times so we get familiar with the tune. I think it's probably familiar to many of us. And then why don't we split into two groups. Let's take those two pie wedges of chairs on that side of the room, sing one, and then you are group two with me, all right? So part one will start with Jen, part two will follow with me, and then we'll sing it through twice in a round. Does that sound like a whole lot of fun? All right.
Please rise in body or spirit.
Oh yes, that too. Thank you, Reverend Barbara. Together.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
All right, let's do that all together one more time. Here we go.
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony.
Okay, now group one, you start with Jen. Here we go, and
Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you, will you reach out to me? With all of our voices and all of our visions, voices and dawn of our visions. With friends we could make such sweet harmony.
Friends, we could make
Such sweet harmony.
success.
Alrighty, and now we're going to read a wonderful responsive reading, The Shining Word and by Richard Rohr. I will read the speaker part, and Tad will read the congregation part. So follow him when it's time to talk.
Let me find my paper.
Okay.
Okay.
And teaches us to say yes.
And allows us to be both
And keeps us from either or.
And teaches us to be patient and long-suffering.
And is willing to wait for insight and integration.
And keeps us from dualistic thinking.
And does not divide the field of the moment.
And helps us live in the always imperfect now.
And keeps us inclusive and compassionate toward everything.
And demands that our contemplation become action.
And insists that our action is also contemplative.
And heals our racism, sexism, heterosexism, and classism.
And keeps us from the false choice of liberal or conservative.
And allows us to critique both sides of things.
And allows us to enjoy both sides of things. Sorry. Okay.
Is far beyond any one nation or political party.
And helps us face and accept our own dark side.
And allows us to ask for forgiveness and to apologize.
And is the mystery of paradox in all things.
And is the way of mercy.
And makes daily practical love possible.
And does not trust love if it is not also justice.
And does not trust justice if it is not also love.
And is far beyond my religion versus your religion.
And allows us to be both distant and yet united. And is the very mystery of the spirit of life.
And now, my friends, we come to the ceremony that we hold every several months, the welcoming of new members to this congregation. Will the leaders of this congregation please come forward as we've arranged, the four of you, please? Thank you. And friends, sit tight. There's going to be a part for each of you in this ceremony, so stay tuned. The life of a religious community is filled with both small and great occasions. Because the core of this free congregational faith is its congregations and its members, among the most sacred events is the welcoming of new members. Will the six of you who have completed the path to membership class and indicated your wish to become members of this congregation, please come forward and stand as we've worked out in the talk-through. Welcome, welcome everyone, welcome. It is indeed an honor to welcome each of you here to this fellowship. Thank you. My friends, this is a ceremony of covenanting. A covenant is a promise. Membership invites you into several covenants. a covenant of challenge, because the membership process asks several commitments from memberships. I trust you know what you're in for. Right? Membership signifies that you support the purposes and the programs of this fellowship, outlined in bylaws, mission, and covenant statements. Membership is also a covenant of hope. Here in this congregation, you can find acceptance, community, and friendship. When life gets tough, you can draw inspiration from this community. If your expectations turn a bit sour, you can find renewal here. If you grow cynical, you can be reminded how deeds of fellow humans who have gone before you have made a difference in the world. If you find yourself just plain frazzled, you can be renewed by having fun at this fellowship, right? Fun in this fellowship. And above all, you can draw from the deep well of love and respect that is the promise of this faith we share together. Finally, membership asks each of you to covenant, to celebrate the best of this spiritual community. This congregation has already been enhanced by the presence of each of you new members.
In signing the membership book, which you will do after this service in the fellowship hall, you are committing to your own spiritual growth and the growth of other members. Will you accept the challenge, the hope, and the promise that comes through your covenants with this congregation?
We will.
We would like to receive each of you individually as we read your name and something about you to help the congregation get to know you. Please be welcomed through the hand of fellowship extended by our minister, an officer of the Board of Trustees, and a member of the membership team. Everyone, please note the names of new members on the screen and in the Zoom chat. There. Oscar Flores is a cherished member of the Lafayette community who deeply enjoys the arts. You can start going across. He treasures community and has a knack for making friends. Elizabeth Jimenez was born in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico, and she moved to Lafayette 4 years ago. She has 4 children, 3 of them here today. Gerhard Funk was born in Westminster, Colorado.
Welcome, welcome.
He's lived in Washington, D.C. and Louisiana, and he works as a software developer and applied mathematician. Molly Hargarten lives in Lafayette with Jim, her husband of 43 years. She grew up in Minnesota, think Lake Wobegon, and was raised Lutheran. She became a Buddhist 35 years ago. Ariel Lehman was born in Louisville, Kentucky, and has lived in many states. She holds a degree in transpersonal psychology from JFK University's School of Consciousness in Orinda, California. And finally, Veronica San Gabriel, we know her as Vero, was born in Mexico City and moved with her family to Jalapa, Veracruz when she started 2nd grade. She is the oldest of 6 brothers and sisters and now has her own 3 boys.
I invite now our board president to lead the congregation in the covenanting ceremony.
Would you please rise in body or spirit? Members of this congregation, It's now your turn. I invite you to read the statement on the screens or on Zoom in the chat. Together we say, we welcome you new members into this community. We promise to journey with you as you experience the challenges, hopes of membership in the shared ministry of this congregation. New members read.
We will support members and friends of this congregation through faith in our hearts and hands, as well as through stewardship of our talents and resources.
Will everyone, members and friends, in person and online, read the covenant of membership? The covenant to build a religious community together that is guided by love, sustained by respectful relationships, and committed to action to make a better world. We celebrate this common purpose whenever we gather and do our best to support this covenant.
Let's give a warm welcome to our new members. Thank you all. Isn't that always such an important moment in congregational life? Welcoming new members. Now we come to another important moment, the sharing of the personal. Folks on Zoom, I remind you, if you wish to add a joy or concern to the chat, drop it in now so it will be available in a few minutes. My friends, let us come together in some moments of prayer, meditation, and intentional focus. I offer these words of prayer to begin. Spirit of connections and love, bless the many ways we resist, those who march and organize, those who cook, donate, and write, those who tend to the weary, who pray or hold vigil, those who say, rest now, I'll take the shift. Let this wide circle honor every offering, visible or invisible. May we release the myths that define resistance in certain ways and remember instead the truth of shared power. May this be our prayer, to sustain one another's courage until quiet faith and public fire become one movement of love. And Great Spirit, this morning, we send prayers, we send messages of support, we send heartaches to the city of Minneapolis, in particular to one family in which there are 3 children now who will spend the rest of their life without their mother after the murder of a bystander, not a terrorist, in ICE activities. We send support not only to Minneapolis, but to all the citizens of this country who fear the authoritarian hand that we are living under, which seems to be escalating. To any of us in this community who fears going to the grocery store or going shopping, we call on one another to support one another, and there is help. please be reminded of the help. Great Spirit, also in this particular community, there are individuals who I'm sure are living under heightened stress. We hold each of these individuals in our hearts, in our prayers, hoping they know there is support by reaching out in this congregation. And undoubtedly, there are unspoken joys, concerns, celebrations, sadnesses, which perhaps have not even arisen to awareness yet among us. For that heightening of awareness of that spirit of life within us, and also to send once again support to the city of Minneapolis, to the family of Renee Good, we drop one final stone. And so, my friends, let's take a few moments of silent reflection, sending out all those energies, however you can best direct them. Amen, and blessed be. I invite you either to continue your meditation or to join in singing our pastoral hymn, Spirit of Life. The words will be on the screen.
Each week, we remind ourselves of the abundance of our lives and this community by giving half of our plate away to those organizations that share our values. This Sunday's half plate supports the Colorado Immigration Reform Coalition, otherwise known as CIRC, which plays an important role in keeping immigrants safe. CIRC is a statewide membership-based coalition of immigrant, labor, interfaith, youth, and ally organizations building a unified statewide voice to improve the lives of immigrants and refugees in the United States. CIRC works through nonpartisan civic engagement, public education, and advocacy to win fair, humane, and workable public policies. Please donate generously at this difficult time for immigrants and refugees. You can text your donation at the number on the screen, or if you are at the fellowship today, place a donation in the offering plate as it passes. Please give generously, as you so often do.
my friends, for the work and witness of this congregation, and Cirque, your contributions are gratefully received.
As I contemplated what I was going to write for a reflection today, I could not put my thoughts together. There was so much to write about resistance. I thought of one thing and thought of another and couldn't quite get it. And then the poem I'm about to read popped up on my feed, and I thought, that's it. That's what I need to say. It's a poem by Colorado poet Rosemary Watola Traumer. Before I read the news. Before I read the news, I press both hands to my chest, then look at the trees and the road outside. I imagine the world beyond what I see, cities, continents, space, and then I close my eyes, only to open. I listen to what is here, attuned to the silence that holds up all sounds. I feel my heart beat against my palm. Hello, heart, I say. Hello, heart. If I am to read the news, I want to invite not only my head, but my body. I want to receive it as if I am river and sky, as much as I am human. The ache of the news is no less great, perhaps greater, but I know I'm not alone. In the barren branches of my fear, the chickadees come to sing.
Thank you, Mary. Rosemary Watola Traumer is a Colorado poet. She's over on the Western Slope, and we've both had the privilege of being in workshops with her this week. In this month, when our theme is practicing resistance, I offer this reflection and sermon on resisting a single story, nurturing the both and. So last Sunday, as we began a new month in worship and in soul matters, on the topic of practicing resistance, we reflected on resisting our usual habits for making New Year's resolutions. I don't know how your resolutions have been going this week, but yeah. I invited you to consider how New Year's resolutions could also embrace new perspectives by including intention and imagination as we look ahead at our promises and hopes for the coming year. One vehicle many of us use to express our resolutions, as well as so many other life events, is the lens of story. So I want to reflect more on story this morning. Creating stories often helps us find focus and definition of our life experiences. Most stories involve both a teller or a creator and receivers or listeners. Stories are an important vehicle for meaning making, in that they usually include knowledge and knowable information, as well as interpretations and opinions about that information. For example, a story imagining the end result if we can only stick to that New Year's resolution to work out more. Or a story of the benefits of volunteering more in the community. Or the life-giving story of American life if more leaders stood up to autocratic power at the top. Stories we imagine today have parallels with stories of the past. The meaning of history, that is, his story, includes both facts about the past and interpretations of those facts. Indeed, there is power in stories. Stories we tell and stories from others influence our perspective on life. Stories connect us. They bind us together. Stories can be nurturing and healing, reminding us we are not alone. Stories remind us that we share experiences with other humans here in our own time and throughout history. Indeed, stories can change us. However, the Nigerian author Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, let me say her name again, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, also suggests that there can be dangers in stories which are singular. That is, accounts which are one-dimensional and fairly fixed from telling to telling, especially if told from persons in positions of power. Consider how the stories children hear about themselves and the world around them can shape their entire outlook on life. Consider how different it is for a child growing up to live with loving stories that recognize their maturing as they change and develop, in contrast to a child exposed to repetitive stories, mostly about their being unwanted or burdensome or a drain on a family's resources, which sadly all too many children in this world experience. Or consider the influence of race and class and sexual identity and more on the stories we may assume about persons of any age. Consider how single stories about particular populations can lead to mistreatment, threats, injury, and even death. Consider the power autocrats assume by telling stories that are shaped only through their own lenses, making the story they tell the definitive story, the truth. You may recall stories about last year in Ohio, residents were eating cats, for example. Perhaps even more serious, consider the harm in single stories which aren't true, like I just illustrated the story of the cats, whether intentional or unintentional, such as stories which are conveyed through various fake news networks. Consider the even more serious threat from harm from stories which are outright lies, intentionally lies, especially egregious if issued from persons in power and taken as undeniable truth by hearers who don't question facts or interpretation of these single stories. How many untrue stories are in the news these days about leadership in Venezuela, or the dangers of vaccines, or the killing, still raw, of Renee Good in Minneapolis 4 days ago. I don't want to go into too much detail here about this tragedy, because I know that some of you are limiting the amount of news you want to listen to. But just consider the impact of the single, inaccurate stories told by ICE and many in this administration, which have defined her unquestionably as a radical left agitator and terrorist who tried to run down an ICE agent. Also, inaccurate stories about a city described as overridden by the civil unrest of its citizens. Inaccurate stories, my friends. They can cause so much harm to people and to places. One of my minister colleagues, Reverend Ashley Haran, who some of you met or were exposed to or heard during General Assembly, at least last year and in many other years. Reverend Ashley Haran lives in Minneapolis, just 1 block from the scene of Wednesday's murder. On Friday, she sent a heartfelt, sometimes tearful video showing what her neighborhood actually looks and sounds like right now. She wrote this: "Spoiler alert, it is peaceful and deeply moving to watch the ways this community has already been moving to take care of one another. We are actively working here to counter the narratives that the administration is spinning about our neighborhood and our city." unquote. Indeed, her video depicts hundreds of peaceful citizens on the neighborhood streets, creating community, being together, with several tents erected to supply food and warmth. It's pretty cold in Minneapolis this weekend and this week, showing many citizens who are even engaged in snow removal to make clearer paths for safety on walking the streets of the city. Reverend Haran invites all of us to replicate this countering of the inaccurate telling of single stories about Minneapolis. She said, don't let them change the story of this beautiful city. Indeed, stories which are incomplete or biased or downright lies, told from one singular perspective, especially with little foundation in truth, bring significant harm to the subjects of those stories. Indeed, the stories we create and tell and hear can cast long shadows. In addition to stories which are fixed in scope or blatantly untrue, there's another dimension to the danger of a single story, as explained by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. In creating a single story about a person or an event, especially about peoples and cultures who are not like us, even if the story is accurate in content, we are likely to miss out on its richness, that there may well be many other pieces to the story. Single stories often result in telescoping into a few words or images our definition of the other. This author herself admits to creating single stories about others, even in her own Nigerian culture. Her Nigerian family could afford the domestic help of a young Nigerian man who came from a poor family. She imagined a single story about their family life. So it never occurred to her that he and his family were very gifted in basket weaving and other crafts, let alone in sharing a loving household together. It was only on paying a visit to the young man's home that she realized she had not lived into the paradox that a poor person could also be a creative person. In not being open to paradox, she missed out on knowing this young man more fully, more authentically. Indeed, many single stories, while true, are incomplete. As Adichie noted, a single story can rob people of their full dignity. So, my friends, I invite you, think on any story or conversation or intention you've experienced recently, perhaps about yourself or about others. How open to multiple lenses and contexts were those stories and experiences? Being content with a single story may be easier than embracing multiple perspectives, even though single stories tend to generate an either-or mindset and likely lead to categorical thinking. You know, you're either with me or you're against me. Someone is totally a winner or totally a loser. An organization or a movement or a political party is all good or all bad, either or. Accepting multiple perspectives about any story or situation can move us from either or to a mindset of both and, which we explored in the responsive reading. Expanding on our perspectives, we can become more comfortable living with and benefiting from paradox, that quality that two or more opposite stories or truths can coexist. Paradox. An effective antidote to single stories, then, for the rest of this sermon, as an effective antidote to single stories then, for the rest of this sermon, let's focus on this quality of paradox. There's richness to be found living in the multiplicity that paradox offers. The spiritual writer Parker Palmer asserted in the title of one of his early books that there is promise in paradox. Parker's writing inspired the spiritual practice Circles of Trust, which you'll be hearing more about in this Friday's Connections when we announce dates for the next workshop here in this fellowship, Circles of Trust. So let's consider for a few minutes how we might expand our capacity to benefit from the promise of paradox. Even as many try to control the world by infiltrating it with single stories, we can't avoid paradox in this world. It pervades the natural world. Mother Nature models it for us. Plants flower in summer, only to lie dormant in winter. Without darkness and dormancy, there would be no flowering next spring. Perhaps the words of humorist E.B. White convey the dilemma of paradox. He once said, "If the world were merely seductive, that would be easy. If the world were merely challenging, that would be no problem. But I arise in the morning, torn between a desire to improve the world and a desire to enjoy the world. This makes it hard to plan the day." We can't avoid paradox. It's a reality of life. What we can influence is how we respond to paradox. One common response might be fight or flight. That is, when we confront difference or multiple ways of being and doing, we might run away, so to avoid dealing with the multiple possibilities. Fight or flight is either or thinking. Either something is good or it is bad. Either I am with you or I'm against you. Such binary thinking leaves us in positions, not relationships. When we're in a position, especially when defending our position, which most certainly must be the right position because it's my position, right? It makes it hard to hear other stories. One practice for unlocking ourselves from positioning is the practice of turning to wonder, turning to curiosity, so to learn more about the other, especially if the other is new or unclear. Through personal discernment and community advocacy, Parker Palmer came to realize how being comfortable with paradox is life-giving. Holding productively the tension of contradictions, we can find new relationships that reflect higher unity, a sense of universal connectedness, which is core to many religious traditions. Parker refers to this tension of contradictions as living in a tragic gap. The tragic gap in between two truths can be a source of incredible energy, leading to what he calls the hidden wholeness. In Parker's words, and which we hold as grounding in Circles of Trust, he says, "The promise of paradox is the promise that apparent opposites, like order and disorder, can cohere in our lives. The promise that if we replace either or with both and, our lives will become larger and more filled with light. When we resist a single story as the whole story and embrace paradox, we move toward more balanced life with new riches and more expanded heart for one another. To accept paradox means to live in the midst of contradictions and draw energy from them. This does not mean giving up our opinions or making ourselves vanilla. Instead, it's an invitation to listen to ideas different from our own, a habit greatly aided by turning to wonder over events and people which we don't understand or who we disagree with. Turning to wonder, we can hear the worth in all the stories of all the people around us. We can move beyond the tendency to see others through a single feature of their identity. As Niels Bohr wrote, "How wonderful that we have met paradox. Now we have some hope of making progress." Can you see how being comfortable with paradox has many parallels with liberal religion? And why I've chosen to include courage work, this Circles of Trust, with its grounding in paradox in my ministry. Liberal religion is paradoxical in that it offers us many opinions, many tools to challenge singular thinking that pervades so much in American life. Much of the dominant culture resists contradictions and tensions. Liberal religion is the opposite. It is contradictions which enrich this faith. Admittedly, sometimes we have too many options and we never come to closure on a decision. I'm not saying that ever happens in this congregation, but in principle, having too many choices, sometimes. But I'd rather live with too many options than none at all. If we dismiss or ignore the contradictions in our faith life, we miss the full potential of what liberal religion offers. So, my friends, I invite you to consider your own stories, personal stories, stories of the congregation, stories of other communities, and how the promise of paradox can bring new insights to events and new dimensions to relationships. If you have something in your life for which you found yourself saying, I just can't make peace with this issue, it may be a story to view through the promise of paradox. A mindset of paradox can also help us reconcile one-dimensional stories we hear about others, such as a particular person who was totally a saint, perfect in all ways, or totally a sinner. Rarely are people and events so singular. For example, and we're coming into the season of it, now we know that even a prominent American like Martin Luther King also indulged in personal weaknesses. So how do you respond to the many contradictions and paradoxes in life? With avoidance and denial, or acceptance and curiosity? Single stories, especially if not verified for the truth they contain, can create stereotypes. They can hurt. They can alter lives and activities, can disrupt relationships, and build distrust. Comfort with paradox opens us to new ways of seeing the world and one another. The words of Tony Schwartz sum up my message for today. He wrote, "Resist and let go of the tendency toward certainty. The opposite isn't uncertainty. It's openness, curiosity, and a willingness to embrace paradox rather than choose up sides. The ultimate challenge is to accept ourselves exactly as we are, but never stop trying to learn and grow." My friends, may all this be so. And as we grounded our community coming in, we again respond to singing as a way to affirm our community as we go out. I invite you in body or spirit. If in the teal hymnal, it's 10:14. Rise in body or spirit for singing the Answering the Call of Love. The words will be on the screen.
Faith, hope, and love abide.
standing as we extinguish the standing in body or spirit, as we extinguish the chalice, Mary will extinguish the flame as we offer these words. We extinguish this chalice, but not the warmth of love, the light of truth, or the energy of action. These we carry in our hearts until we meet again. And as we go out for our benediction, I invite you to join with others in spirit or perhaps in arms or hands. As for our benediction, we offer the all-church covenant. We covenant to be a fellowship welcoming to all, where our differences are a source of deep learning and spiritual growth. We strive to promote love, reason, as we work together to build a just, compassionate world. Amen and blessed be. I invite you to resume your seats. I think we have announcements.
Hello, my name is Amy Cole. I'm a member of COSUM. My pronouns are she and they. With so much going on at the fellowship, today's coffee and conversation with elected leaders is the perfect opportunity to offer comments and ask questions of our leadership. Representatives of the board, Committee on Shared Ministries, and Leadership Development will be in Fellowship Hall following the service. Look for their table on the stage. Also happening today, as part of our spiritual exploration offerings, come join Homer Neural today for a Rumi sunrise meditation and discussion at 11:45 to 12:45 in Mountain View. Rumi was a Sufi mystic who lived in Turkey in the 13th century and taught by describing physical scenes as metaphors for spiritual experiences. The meditation on Sunrise Over the Ocean video will prompt our conversation. This coming Friday, please join us for the first film in our Social Justice Council monthly film series on Friday, January 16th at 5:30 in Fellowship Hall. Cuba's Forgotten Jewels, A Haven in Havana, is a film about Jewish families' escape from war-torn Nazi Germany. There will be a Q&A afterwards with the director, the daughter of one of the film's main characters. Popcorn and drinks will be provided. Pledge drive season is coming. The pledge team is encouraging you to be sure your contact information is correct. If you have moved or changed your phone number or email address, please contact Sam in the office to correct your information in the directory. Thank you. And starting today, we are introducing a new coffee hour experiment. Our youth and children have a large cache of cloth napkins ready for use to use as we enjoy our Sunday snacks. There will still be paper napkins as an option. When you have used a cloth napkin, there will be a new hamper next to the 3 bins by the Fellowship Hall doors where you can dispose of them, and they will be washed for use next Sunday. We invite you to take part in this trial program to help the environment together.